Welcome to Gutter Talk, the show all about comics, now back in a monthly format. I'm your host, Matt Mitchell. It's October, and that means spooky season, so let's take a look at which issues I pulled this month. First up is Darkhold Alpha. Now, I bought this issue for the variant cover with Scarlet Witch, but it actually turned out to be a rather interesting story. Dr. Doom has unearthed the Darkhold, and now an evil elder god, Chthon, is coming after it. To stop Chthon, you have to read from the Darkhold, but anyone who reads too much from the book will descend into madness. I'm not very familiar with the more magic side of the Marvel Universe, so that's something I'm looking forward to dig into more. And I really liked the cast of characters in this issue, from the popular heroes like Iron Man and Spider-Man to others like Blade and Black Bolt. So I'm definitely going to pick up some of the other Darkhold issues and then probably look for a collected edition to read the whole story. Next up is the Winchester Mystery House #1. This is the true story of a widower who built a mansion in California that many say is haunted, using the fortune from the Winchester Rifle Company. This is an actual mansion you can go visit still today, and is something I would like to do someday, so what better to read for Halloween than the story of a haunted mansion? Unfortunately, if you're already familiar with the story of the Winchester house, you're not going to get much from the comic, but there's only 2 more issues in the miniseries, so I'll probably finish it off anyways. What I won't be finishing off is Hellboy, the Silver Lantern Club. When I read a Hellboy comic, I want to see Hellboy in action, fighting big beasts and monsters. This issue was very light on Hellboy. It was basically just a ghost story, and Hellboy is off-screen someplace listening to it. So I'm definitely not going to finish this series, but there is another Hellboy series starting up next month, so I'll probably read that one instead. Last up for new issues this month is DC vs. Vampires #1. This was a very exciting issue that set up an awesome story. Basically, vampire kind is plotting to eradicate humans from the earth. It's a bit brutal, so it's probably not best for younger kids, but I really enjoyed this. This was by far the best thing I read this month. There's one death in particular in this issue that I thought was really funny, but I'm definitely not going to spoil that for you. Pick this one up and give it a read. Reading individual issues can often get quite expensive, so I'll usually wait for collected editions like trade paperbacks that I can pick up for free from the library and read through a lot more storylines. So let's take a look at the graphic novels I read this month. First was the Voyage to the Stars, a sci-fi story about the last of humanity and the foolhardy heroes trying to save Earth. This is based on a comedy podcast that I actually listened to the first couple episodes when they came out. It's all improvised and they just have a few story beats that they need to meet. And this comic actually maintained a lot of that humor and style. So if you're a fan of the podcast, definitely check out this graphic novel. And if you're not, but the story sounds interesting to you, maybe you'll discover a new podcast for you to listen to. Next, I read Sherlock Frankenstein and the Legion of Evil. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that this was part of the Black Hammer universe. I just thought it was a whole separate character, and that character didn't really appear in this story until about 2/3 of the way through. But you don't have to have read any of the Black Hammer comics to enjoy this as its own story. What I did like about this graphic novel was that it weighed in on the question of, would supervillains exist without superheroes? This is often attributed to Batman. Does the existence of Batman cause the existence of the Joker? And I think the authors of this novel say, yes, it does, because as soon as the superheroes disappear, all of the supervillains retire or disappear themselves. So if you're interested in that debate, this story kind of had some interesting comments on that. And given the title of this show, I'd be remiss if I didn't show off the interesting gutter work on this 2-page spread. It shows the vastness of the asylum and some of the villains locked away there, while still allowing the story to advance as we see our hero walk through the asylum. If you've seen old episodes of Gutter Talk, you'll know I like to feature a quote of the month. It's usually something I found funny, and this month's comes from Darkhold Alpha. It's a quip from Spider-Man directed at Scarlet Witch. He says, "Didn't you date a robot?" And that's all for this episode of Gutter Talk. Let me know if there's any upcoming issues that you're really excited about, or if I missed some this month. And I'll see you around comic shops in November.